What is good, YouTube, man? Today I'm back with you guys, with the nation, for another video. Finally, we got another video, man. It's been like live stream after live stream after live stream. We're back with videos, man. We finally got ourselves some Raider news, some Raider content, man. And shout out to Gruden for the press conference today. But you already know, I didn't forget, man. I didn't forget. It's a tradition. You already know who helped me out with today's thumbnail, man. Shout out to Icy Nate. Please go check his YouTube page out. It's at Icy_Nate. You can also follow him on Instagram. It's at Raiders Rhythm. Go check him out on both those platforms. He, yet again, came through with a crazy good thumbnail. So shout out to my boy Icy Nate. But let's get into the main topic, the talking point of today, right? Today, Gruden gave us a long 20-minute, 25-minute spiel today. Hey, and it has some news. It has some news, some interesting stuff. I got a lot of bullet points here right now. And, yo, I'm excited, man. Let's get into it. Number one, I believe the first thing that caught my attention, because the first half of it was a lot about the new protocols with COVID and all that kind of stuff. So that was the main talking point of the beginning of it, right? But here we got the main person that I thought that stuck out first was Damon Arnett, right? Damon Arnett was a guy that was spoken about a good amount, saying that we have a lot of DBs, a lot of defensive backs on this roster, a lot of cornerbacks, right? So I definitely like that that he mentioned his name, right? He said that Arnett is a big piece moving forward for this team, not just for this defense. He's a former first-round pick, right? Arnett was a first-day starter coming in, right? And it sounds like that's the plan for him again this year, whether that's moving him into the slot, which that was our idea, our thoughts at first. But then, you know, at the end of the day, it looked like he wasn't getting much reps in mini camp, right? We know we're going into training camp right now. Training camp is where it's at. But in mini camp, he didn't get many looks at slot, right? Or if not any at all. So right now, with that statement being said, we don't know if it's some smoke. We don't know that he's just trying to get some pressure off of Arnett, get him to really perform in training camp, you know. But right now it's looking like Mullen, Hayward, and Arnett are all starters of some sort, right? But it was very interesting to me when he spoke about Damon Arnett. He also went on to talk about the defensive back group as a whole. He said that the safety group, although we know we have Abram, although we got Merrick, it's still a bit unknown on who's where, and starting and all this kind of stuff, which to me was kind of a big surprise, because I found that I thought it was pretty clear cut, right? In my opinion, yet again, you know, John Gruden, this could be all smoke. At the end of the day, he could just be saying this kind of stuff, but to me, it was pretty clear cut. In my opinion, I always thought that Jonathan Abram was our strong safety number one. KJ was number two. And I thought that from where we drafted the best free safety in the league, in the draft, I mean, I thought it was pretty well known that, hey, this guy, Trayvon Merrick, comes in day one, starts at free safety, right? And Gillespie is in to back him up. I thought that was pretty clear cut in my opinion. But he said that it's yet to be kind of unknown on that aspect, right? And then he also went on to talk about a guy that if you guys have been on the lives with me, Graph, Raid, Icy, Scout, all this kind of stuff, right? I'm a big believer in Nicholas Morrow, right? And he spoke about Nicholas Morrow, and he didn't just speak about him like, oh, he's going to do good, all this kind of stuff. He spoke very highly about Nicholas Morrow. Now, he said that Nicholas Morrow, this is his time. Like, this is his time. He said that this year he believes Nicholas Morrow has a real shot at being selected as a team captain. Now, players that worn that team captain have been Rodney Hudson, Derek Carr. When Khalil Mack was here, was Khalil Mack, and no, he is not on the level of Khalil Mack. But I'm telling you, the caliber of player that wears that patch when it comes to the silver and black is big, right? Now, Nicholas Morrow, I vouch for this guy. You know, I do believe that last year he had a really big year and he had a very big impact for our defense, right? I'm excited to see where this goes for Nicholas Morrow, although I do believe that a guy like Divine Diablo could be coming in to replace him mid-season, right? I mean, I do believe that Divine Diablo has that much talent, right? I really do. Nicholas Morrow came off of a solid season last year, and for your head coach to say that this is a guy that has a shot to being a team captain, a guy that this is his time, this is your time to make it all happen, right? Those are big words, in my opinion, right? You know, like, for those of you guys who played sports, if your coach gives you high praise like that, you're doing something very, very right, in my opinion. Then we finally got an answer when it came down to our third round pick number 80 in the draft, Divine Diablo. We finally got some news on what exactly he was nursing, and it comes out that he has tweaked his knee. He already had a procedure. He said he should be back within this week and next week, so roughly 2 weeks. We'll just give him 2 weeks to come back. But he also did say that Divine Diablo is another guy that can run, that is strong, that is this, that is that, you know. Divine Diablo definitely has a role in this team, right? I know many people are kind of annoyed that the fact that, you know, he's a rookie and he hasn't shown up all the way, but he's done what he can, right? You know, when you're nursing a knee injury, you definitely don't want to force it. And I know as supporters of this team, we would like to know that kind of stuff so we don't get into all this kind of speculation how we did. But I definitely like the fact that they're not throwing him into the fire right away. I like that they're allowing him to wait. Definitely with a guy like Divine Diablo, where I think his talent is, you know, really, really up there. I think it's very, very smart for them to let him nurse his injury a bit more, let him get that down intact before we throw him in the fire. But John Gruden was asked about one of my favorite pickups that we got in this year's draft. Was it our fifth or our sixth? It was either our fifth or our sixth round pick, Tyree Gillespie. He said immediately, as soon as the name came out of the reporter's mouth, he said Tyree Gillespie is definitely in the picture. He will be this, he will be that. Tyree Gillespie's a great player, right? Well, he didn't say he's a great player, but he did mention this, right? He said Tyree Gillespie is a guy that will play post. So think about that. He said he will play post, can play in the box down low on the line of scrimmage, but what we're also thinking is that further down the line, he can also play linebacker in the dime package, right? So this, to me, is exactly what I thought of Tyree Gillespie. I'm not going to lie. I believe since the day we drafted him, I immediately thought Gus Bradley's trying to get his Desmond King. Gus Bradley wants this new Desmond King for this defense. We know that Desmond King was a solid Swiss Army knife for that Chargers defensive back and secondary room. And I know that he likes guys like that, right? And to me, when you're saying that a guy can play post safety, strong safety, near the line of scrimmage, and can also possibly play linebacker in some dime packages, to me, that sounds like a Swiss Army knife, right? And I'm glad that we finally drafted one and aren't trying to pick one up from someone else's scheme and bring it to us, right? I'm glad that we drafted one. He's going to learn in this system. And to me, I'm very, very excited to hear that, because I like to say that I was right on that one, right? I like to say that Tyree Gillespie, he always caught my attention as to being a guy like Desmond King in this defense, right? Can play anywhere, wherever he's asked, right? But after Tyree Gillespie, I believe the next one was about Nate Hobbs. He said there was like a plethora of good things that he said about Nate Hobbs, if we're being honest. He said Nate Hobbs is a professional. The way he conducts himself is great. This, that, and the third, right? He also mentioned how good of a coach he played with Lovie Smith, right? That is an ex-NFL coach over there, right? He said that this guy is a professional, right? And he never makes the same mistake twice. And that right there, that shows how much potential a guy has. If you can make a mistake and correct it and not make that again, you're only going to get better. You're only going to get better. And this, to me, is why I feel like he's been standing out so much in the slot. As Gruden said in that same question, he said he's a guy who stood out a lot in the nickel, right? And to me, it makes all the sense that all the reports have been true, right? He's actually being a standout guy in the nickel. You know, when you are a guy that comes in head down, ready to learn, and come in with a real professional attitude, you're not making the same mistake twice. That means that you make a mistake, you correct it, and you move forward. I honestly believe that Nate Hobbs can honestly start in the slot, right? Just hearing that from Gruden, a guy who we all know can be one of the toughest coaches in the NFL, is insane, right? I mean, shout out to Nate Hobbs. You know, he did say when we got him, we were gonna get the best underdog we've ever drafted, right? And so far, the trend is only heading upward for him. So I'm really glad to see that he's doing well. He went on to talk about the receivers for a slight moment. He gave some compliments to what's his name? John Brown. He said that John Brown's a guy that can really help out with the receivers. He said John Brown came in to really fill the void of Nelson Aguilar, a guy and Nelson Aguilar that made a lot of plays downfield, which is exactly what John Brown can do. He said John Brown can also help the development for certain routes for Ruggs, right? And I mean, hey, we all thought the same thing. Similar build, fast guys. One is a great route runner. The other one needs to develop his route running. So it's almost like a perfect fit in that department. He also said that Ruggs and Edwards have been able to start to flip-flop sides when it comes to their whole position at the wide receiver. So maybe you see sometimes Edwards swapping to the wide receiver, and then you see Ruggs swapping to the X receiver. You know, both are outside receivers, but at the end of the day, you're seeing your receivers kind of flip-flop, and I like that. I like to see our young guys getting a lot of reps at more than one position on the receiver, on the receiving core, right? He also went to talk about the defensive line, mostly defensive tackles. He said Darius Stills reported in at 296 pounds, which is a solid weight for a 3 technique, especially for a guy who's already played for Gus Bradley, especially for a guy who hasn't been in the league for a couple years. So that is some insane news to me. Honestly, Darius Stills, if he continues with that trend, it's only going to help him, you know, make an argument for him to make this 53-man roster, honestly, because that's very good weight for a 3 technique, especially in a system where you're asking your defensive line to cover 6 gaps. That is very good weight. He's a guy who's had success with this defensive coach before, so I'm excited to see. He also mentioned about Solomon Thomas that he sees Solomon Thomas trending upwards. He finally thinks that Solomon Thomas can maybe put everything together here, you know. And you guys know my thoughts on Solomon Thomas. I hope he has a career year with the Raiders. And honestly, you know, I don't want to continue with the whole Solomon Thomas thing, really. You guys know how I feel about it, right? Solomon Thomas is a guy who has a lot of potential. He hasn't been able to prove what he's got. I really hope that he can do it here, and I'm glad that you know, that John Gruden has some kind words for him. Shows that he's putting in that work, and we love to see that, right? We really do. He also went on to talk, or Gruden went on to talk. He said he would be pretty upset if after all we invested, money, draft capital on the secondary, if it didn't pan out, he'd be pretty annoyed and pretty upset. And honestly, me too. We have a lot of money and capital in that secondary. We have a second rounder, Trayvon Mullen. We have a first rounder, Jonathan Abram. We have a veteran who was a second rounder in Casey Hayward. You have Trayvon Merritt. You got Tyree Gillespie. I would be annoyed too. I would be annoyed too if all this didn't pan out for our secondary, but it is what it is. That was a little bit of the negative of what he said. He also went on to speak a couple good words about Clelin Ferrell. He said Clelin Ferrell is a good player, right? He said, I'm tired of all the grades. I'm tired of all this and that because they're never in our favor, right? That's basically what he said. And what he ended up talking about Clelin Ferrell was that Clelin Ferrell is special. He can play left end and he can play right end. And when you're in the NFL, you don't see many players that can do that, right? You see guys that can really hurt a right tackle, and then you see guys that can really hurt a left tackle. And then you have the Khalil Macks and Von Millers that can do both, right? But Clelin Ferrell is a guy that can play on both sides and dominate the run on both sides, which is very tough. And he also went on to say that maybe Clelin Ferrell's best pass rush is on the inside, implying that maybe his best pass rush is at the 3 technique or that defensive tackle position. You guys know me, my thoughts. I would like to keep Clelin Ferrell on the outside on first and second downs and put in Max Crosby where he's at and bumping him to the 3 tech on passing situations 100%. I would not want to see him start at 3 technique. I wouldn't want to do that at all. I don't really think that that's where you draft the 4th overall player unless that's their true position, but it's okay. It is what it is. I like to hear Clelin Ferrell's name finally in one of these press conferences, man. It's like we've been hearing about everybody except for him, you know. And last but not least was Darius Stills. Darius Stills was mentioned. He said that he had a small minor back tweak. They are expecting him to come back by next week. So That's great. He also mentioned that Darius Stills is a guy who has basically all the tangibles, all the twitch, all the speed that Marinelli likes in this scheme for a three technique defensive tackle, and that is great. You know, this is a guy who, when he got to mini camp, Cleveland Farrell said his name. I believe Max Crosby said his name, and maybe somebody else. But this is a guy who I definitely believe deserves a shot on this team. But with all that being said, Raider Nation, right? I mean, what are your guys' thoughts about John Gruden's press conference today? I really enjoyed it. It was a good watch. There was reporters live, so it wasn't all the feed wasn't chopping up when you were watching it. Finally, you could hear everybody clear. It was amazing. I'm very happy to see that it's looking like we're getting a little bit closer to normality, whether it's very slow or very quick. We're finally getting to someplace new or normal again. But I'm excited to see this season, man. We have Raider football starting next month, man. Next month. It's so close, but yet so far away, Raider Nation. At least that's what it feels like. But that'll be it for today's video, man. I'm glad you guys came here, watched this with me. Training camp is officially underway. We have Raiders news again. But, Raider Nation, that'll be it for today's video. Like, comment, subscribe if you're new. And I'm out. Peace.